Q1057 and 1035, the Capital Region's classic rock station. We are proud to welcome Government Mule on their New Year's run. They're coming to Proctor's Theater in Schenectady on December 28th. And to talk about that and so much more, Warren Haynes. How are you, Warren?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy holidays and all that. Very exciting that we'll be closing out 2025 with Government Mule at the beautiful, historic Proctor's Theater in Schenectady. So thanks for making us part of your New Year's run.
Absolutely. We're excited.
So are you a New Year's resolution kind of guy or no?
Not usually. I can be vague and say I hope to do better.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what, you're certainly going full steam ahead with your plans for 2026 anyway. I see you have some solo shows, which are scheduled for February of 2026. Looks like you're doing a couple of sets for each show, a stripped-down show, and you're saying no two shows are the same. So where do you keep all that music in your head? You have enough room for all these songs that you're going to be performing without any repeats and stuff like that?
Well, there's a lot to choose from between Government Mule and the Allman Brothers and my years of working with Phil Lesh and friends and the members of the Dead, all the solo projects that I've done and other projects and cover songs here and there. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of songs to choose from. And part of the beauty of performing by yourself is you don't have to rehearse. You can kind of just wing it and hope for the best,
That's right.
It's a way or an opportunity for me to perform in a way that's different than performing with a band. The way I sing when I'm by myself is a little more intimate than it is singing on top of a rock band. And the shows are really performances that are more based around the songs and my voice and less around the guitar playing, although there is a lot of guitar playing as well. It's just, for me, it's really fun to do something that I don't get to do very often.
Sure. Take me back to when you were a kid and you were having these aspirations to be a musician. Was it singing you wanted to do, guitar playing, or both?
I started singing first. I started singing when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and mostly soul music in my bedroom, singing along with Wilson Pickett and Smokey Robinson and Sam and Dave and the Four Tops and the Temptations. I didn't start playing guitar till I was around 11, and it was due to hearing, Sly and the Family Stone, and then Jimi Hendrix and Cream and Johnny Winter, and then Jeff Beck, and eventually the Allman Brothers. And once I heard that music and became intrigued with guitar, then my taste changed drastically. But yeah, singing was my first love.
One of the many things I really enjoy about watching a show that you're performing at is the fact that you embrace all types of genre. I've seen you cover Pink Floyd and Nirvana and the Marshall Tucker Band and a wide variety of things. What factors do you put in play when you go about choosing which songs you're going to cover?
Well, I've always said that there is really 3 factors that are criteria for that. A song, if it's a song that I wish I had written, it's so good, I'm like, wow, I wish I wrote that. Or if it's a song I always wanted to sing, or if it's a song that I feel like I myself or we as a band can come up with a version that's unique enough and different enough from the original to warrant doing it. It's one of those 3 things or more of those 3 things that usually makes us choose a cover.
We're talking with Warren Haynes on Q1057 and 1035, the Capital Region's classic rock station. And one of my favorite songs of yours is the Allman Brothers version of Soul Shine, which, interesting to me, being a radio guy, that was never officially a single. So how do you think that song cut through? Because it's a fan favorite, but without it being a single and being, quote-unquote, worked by the industry, how do you think that song cut through?
I think some songs just catch on with the fans, with the listeners. And when you think back to a lot of the music that's considered classic rock now, a lot of the bigger songs weren't necessarily singles at the time, and it's interesting how that happens. Some songs just connect and resonate with people, and in our minds we think, oh, that must have been a single, but maybe it never was. And Soulshine, in hindsight, probably should have been a single from that record, but never was. But that version has become such a fan favorite, and of course there are a lot of different versions of that song as well.
A good song, a good artist always finds its way to its audience, and that one certainly did. Share with me, if you will, just a little bit of how you felt, the emotions and the feelings that you had when your time with the Allman Brothers came to an end.
Well, we had been discussing for about 2 or 3 years at that point the concept of going out at the right time and place. It was really important to a lot of us that the band go out on a high note. Greg was already sick at that point and was doing an amazing job, but struggling with his health. And none of us wanted for the band to be guilty of going past our prime. The band at that time was still amazing, and the shows were fantastic. And the last show that we did in 2014 at the Beacon, which was also the longest show we ever played, was an amazing performance and one that I'm very, very proud of. But, we didn't want to be one of those bands that was out there doing it when they shouldn't have been. And so we had been talking about that for a long time. And then it got confusing because some people in the band got cold feet and thought maybe we should keep going. But Greg and Derek and myself and O'Teal and most everybody, for that matter, were like, no, we need to stick to our guns and do what we said we were going to do. Having said that, it was such a beautiful night. That last night we left everything on the stage, and there was such a kinship and camaraderie among the band, even more than normal. And I think we were all just very proud of what we did and what we had done, and glad to be part of it.
We're speaking with Warren Haynes on Q1057 and 103.5, the Capital Region's classic rock station. I want to talk to you about guitars for a moment. Just a couple of more questions for you about that. What was your very first guitar, and do you still have it?
My first guitar, which unfortunately I do not have, was a Norma, Norma guitar and a Norma amplifier. My dad bought at the local hardware store. One was $49 and one was $59, and not the highest quality, but I was 12 years old, so he wanted to buy me something we could afford, and if 6 months later, if I wasn't playing it, no big deal. But he realized that I was kind of taken with the whole concept, and so about a year later, he got me a copy of a Gibson SG that was like $100. And then about a year after that, I got my first actual Gibson, which was a Gibson SG Junior. We had modest budgets to deal with, and my dad was great about trading whatever I had and getting something just a little bit better. But he could tell that I was passionate about it,
And who knew you could buy a guitar at a hardware store? I didn't know that.
I know, not the first choice, I wouldn't think. And I've never really seen another one of those. I know these days you can go online and find one, but I would love, just for the emotional part of it, to have the first one I grew up with, but I have no idea where it is.
Sure. So what is your favorite, least expensive guitar that you own now?
My favorite least expensive guitar?
Yeah.
Probably a Dan Electro or a Silvertone. Those are no longer inexpensive, but they were inexpensive at the time.
Right.
And they sound fantastic. Not the easiest to play, but the sound is really great. And so in the studio sometimes I'll pull those out and play them. They're great for slide guitar and great for a lot of things. But something about, cheap guitars in general have a really cool sound. It's just they're not always as playable.
So we have Government Mule on their New Year's run coming to Proctor's Theater in Schenectady. The show's happening on December 28th. And Warren, just thank you for your time today and sharing some of your life and your thoughts with us. And thank you for all the music over the years. And we wish you the best of luck with everything in the future, whether it's Government Mule or the Warren Haynes Band or the Brothers, whatever it may be. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.